So first we'll see declare constraints. So declare constraint is also come under declarative processing. We just need to create the rule and system will decide when to call it. So here basically, as the name indicates, declare constraints. To define the constraints, we'll use this rule. So constraints means, let's say, so you are withdrawing the amount.
Hello. Hello, Subhash. So your voice is not audible. Hello.
Do the validations. So we can do validations using other ways. We have seen like using validation for property validation, form level validation. But here, this is also useful for the validation purpose only, but only for the limited properties. So any declarative rule we should use with very proper understanding of the rule. Otherwise, the application performance will be reduced because system will use lot of system resources for running these rules. So we need to define the constraints. So let's say generally wherever the property is very important, for those properties we can define the constraints. Let's say if there will be a withdrawal property is there. Let's say in the banking system. So withdrawal property should be always lesser than the total amount. So when you're doing withdrawal, it should be less than or equal to your total amount, the credited amount. So we can keep constraints on that one, saying that whether this is equal to or that is it is than or equal or greater than or equal to total amount. So if there is something violated, then we can stop and we can keep another message. So in the real time situation related properties, only typical properties, we can use constraints. Now we will see how to do that in the system. It's thing is very simple. Let's say, so we can find typical properties. You can give it on any property, but where business requires some kind of declarative constraints, we can keep that. So just for example, let's say I'm just keeping for state. So the state should be TN. So if it is not TN, I want to show another message. I want to show the violation message here. So for that, I'm creating declare constraints. It's a constraint rule. This will build a decision category. Keeping name as state constraint. So we need to define address details dot state. This is required if it is not equal to empty. When state not equal to empty, so it is required that. So what is required? State dot state criterion. So this is required. I mean, this is the precondition, and this is required. So if the both are true, I mean, if there is a violation, if this is not equal to empty, and if the state is other than tn, I want to, else I want an error message. To property dot. So here you can define any number of properties one by one, but we don't need to call it again. So because it's a declarative rule, we just need to define it. So that's it. System will automatically execute the rule when there is a violation to this property. So when there is a normal violation, so if it is a normal normal rule, then we need to define the. Just going to define the, you know, the some validation need to do that one. But here we can go for different processing. Now let's say I just created the rule and I'm giving, let's say, AP here, rough TN. Now you can say automatically the rule will be triggered. System will give an error. State should be TN. So this is how you can define the declare construction on any property. It's not only for this. You can add any number of property for single class, but you should always think about whether this is really useful or not for your business, because you can do the same thing. So if you are doing this state, we can also do, when I click next, you can also do using validation rule. I need to go this much of level. So if they really useful or not, you need to think about it, and you can do something like this for the declare constraints. Okay.
Which is the best practice?
No, there won't be any best practice here in this kind of regard, because it's always validation is required, but we can do, if it is a normal validation, we can go for validation rule only. So no need for declarative. Declarative rules should be used only on limited properties. Moreover, where whatever business fields is a very important fields, important properties are there. So business will concentrate on some properties. So while if there is something wrong with that property, so there is a more impact will be there. So we need to identify those kind of properties and we need to keep them. It's not like for each and every property. So which makes more impact on their application processing, and where business is more concentrated only on those properties, you can keep that. For the rest of the things you can use the validation rule only. Okay. Now we'll see integrations connected. So what is a connector? So any system needs to, I mean, because it may be Pega, it may be Java, any system, it should be capable of connecting to other systems. So sometimes we need to get the data from other systems. We need to interact with other systems. So Pega want to interact with other systems. Then we can go for connector rule. If Pega want to interact with other systems, you can go for connector rule. That means that here Pega is acting as a client. In this case, Pega, when I say Pega, is a Pega application. So Pega is sending a request, and some other application is giving the response. In those scenarios, you can go for connector rule. If Pega want to interact with other system, you can go for other systems. Here we have a lot of Pega supports a lot of connectors. So it may be SOAP, REST, Java system, Hadoop. and it may be anything. So a lot of protocols are there. So here we are seeing SOAP connection, SOAP integration. How Pega can connect to SOAP service and get the response. For that, we'll see what happens internally, what is happening. So Pega application will be there here, and your service is running in some other system here, some other server. This is Pega application. This is SOAP service. So Pega will send a request. So when Pega send a request, I mean, if both are Pega applications, no issue. So Pega, this application is Pega, and the service is also running on the Pega, then no issues. We directly both systems can understand easily. Let's say this is running on some other technology, some other server, which where Pega cannot be understood. So, but Pega will send a request in the clipboard. Generally, everything in the clipboard. In Pega, clipboard is the everything. So they send the request to the clipboard in the clipboard format, basically. So they set the values to the property and they will send that as a request. But if other application is not compatible with Pega, it's not a Pega application, they can't understand the clipboard structure. The generic structure we generally follow is XML. So, I mean, if it is other system, we always, I mean, in this example, you're taking that example. If this is other system, so we need to convert this request, whatever the Pega is sending in between, once the request is formed using the clipboard, we need to convert the clipboard into XML format. The clipboard structure, whatever it is, we need to convert into XML. So to convert the clipboard into XML, we have a rules for that again. Stream XML. XML stream, you can say. So as a name, XML streaming. So XML farming. So we are farming XML from clipboard to XML format. So to convert clipboard structure into XML format, we use a rule called XML stream. So this rule will be taking care of converting the clipboard into XML, and then that will be sent as a request to the SOAP service. What SOAP service will do? SOAP service again may give response in the XML. So it will give, it is giving response again in the XML format. Let's say send response. So let's say in XML. But again, Pega cannot understand XML. It can understand only clipboard structure. So there will be few more rules which will convert this XML into clipboard. So this is reverse. So to convert XML into clipboard structure, we use parse XML rules. Parse XML rules. And then, so once it is formed, once it is converted, then Pega can easily understand. Once data is there on the clipboard, so whatever you want to do, you can use any rules to display it, or if you want to do calculations also you can do. So whatever you want to do, you can do it. So this is how we can send it. So this is the typical process that is happening internally when you do the integration, SOAP integration. Send the request and convert into XML. I'm taking the scenario like where is the other system. This is the direct system of conversion directly. Send request, get response. If both are Pega applications, there is no issue because both can understand the clipboard structure. And now, so how can we, what is the application we have? So we will search for some SOAP services in the public WSDL, and for public services, I mean there are some websites which will be providing some free web services. So we'll connect to them and we will see how to get the response from those services. Let me search public WSDL. SOAP service is nothing but a public WSDL. So having SOAP service means a web description language. So we need to see. Let me is working. Currency converter. This is not working. Okay, let's try whether it is working fine or not. So this is for get cities by country. If I pass the country name, should give city names as a response. Let's say I'm giving India, so I'm getting response. This service is working fine. This option, oh, there is a weather report is there. So let me pass Hyderabad. So this is not working. So in this service, one operation is working fine. So we can go ahead this one. So I am taking WSDL file. So you need to copy the WSDL file. You need to copy the WSDL URL, or else you can copy the WSDL content. Anything is fine. But because this is a website running on the server, so we can make it as a URL, and then from Pega perspective, so we need to connect to that service. That's a WSDL service. So we have a wizard for that. So let's run the wizard. Go to integration. Go to connectors. Go to create SOAP integration. So we are creating a SOAP integration, and again system will create all the necessary rules. You don't need to bother about it. You just need to verify it once again whether it is or not. So you need to upload the WSDL file via URL. So I am uploading the WSDL file. And then once you do this, so let me this is the create SOAP integration. So get whether is not working properly. So before actually implementing in the application, we can test it directly here only. Test it here again and pass the XML structure, and then I'm passing the value India, and then test it. So this is the request. I'm expecting the response. If response is coming, that means this is working fine with Pega perspective as well. Pega is able to connect to the system. So no issues. I can use this in my application. So I'm getting the response in the XML format again. So we'll see how to handle this. Now go next. So these are all common integration rules. So we need to create integration class. On integration, we need to store in the integration rule set. So I am making it as a global weather. The website.
This is not a weather game, right? Global city finders.
I'm just giving website name. That is fine. Global city is my integration class name is global city, or else you can simply say what we need to do, get country, get city. Okay, just say global city only. Just like a class name, system will create the class name like this, SMT global city, let's say. So you see, you can see the class name. So integration class is created. So all these rules, system will generate some rules. System automatically generates some rules. So all these rules will be going to this class, global city. And then I am storing this in the. So basically, you need to store in the integration rule sets only. You can either create a new rule set instead of integration rule set if you don't want to. So you can go for existing one only. Here I am taking ISMT int organization integration rule set, and here also you can take new version or a old version, because so far we didn't save anything in the 010101. So I am taking that version only, not the new version. So if you're getting new integration, you can take new version just to sometimes what happens is the old rules will be overridden. So to eliminate that, we'll take new version so that we will maintain all the things in separate versions. We'll create it now. You can see the preview. So what type of rules is going to be created? So four classes will be generated. 4 classes are coming. Request, response. Basic. The global class will come. So all the classes will be created here. The properties, how many connect soap rules, parse XML, stream XML is also creating. Okay. And then create it. So that is done. So if you, for some reason, if you want to delete, maybe for mistake you did it, and if you want to delete entire all the rows that are created as part of this integration, so you can do undo generation. So when you do undo generation, whatever the rules, this 11 records, whatever the records are created, whatever the rules are created as part of this integration, that will be removed. So you can click undo generation, automatically everything will be gone. So now I am going to this integration class. Let's open this integration class in the App Explorer and see what are the rules generated. Global city, you can see here, this is a global city. Inside this you can see this is the class name for 1 class, 2 class, 3 class, 4 classes. So 4 classes created. And then this is the request class, this is the response class, this is the class where we use this request response and then the connect soap service. So just creating 4 classes in total, and then you can see here this is the request class. What is the request here? So the request is nothing but the property country name. So that is the request. So if I want to send a request, what I need to do, I just need to send I just need to set a property, to this class, to this property using property set. So for this object, for this class, for this property, that's it. The request is set. So response will get in this format. So here also basically that we need to do some more modifications to this. So you are getting the response, all the response in a single property. But my aim is I want to display all the city names, whatever the city names coming, I need to convert them into drop down. But here this service is not giving that much flexibility. So they are giving entire structure in the XML format again. They're giving the response, but again they're giving the response in the XML format even after doing the parsing. They are doing only one level of parsing. They are not going for multi-level of parsing. So the first level parsing they did, and then they are storing all the XML structure into this property again. You need to modify it. That's what we will see anyway. And then here you can see, so in the SOAP connector, we use request response. That is why a page is created for both of these. This is a page property for this request class. This is the page property for the response class. This is the object of request and responses. So we need to set the value to this object of request to send a request. So if we want to display the response, you need to, or if you want to get the response, you need to use object of this class. And then this is the SOAP connect SOAP name. Let's open that. So whatever the details we have given, the same thing will be displayed here. So this is the method name or operation name, we can call it. So in the SOAP service, in the web service knowledge, you can call it operation, but here you can name it as a method name. And then authentication is not required for that. So the SOAP header also will be taken automatically from that. You can see the website name is coming. So this is the place where it is running. And then you can see authentication profile. So to run that web service, so we don't need any authentication. That is why system didn't create any authentication profile. So for some reason, if the service requires some authentication, some credentials, then system also creates some authentication profile with some username and password. And this is the end user URL. So that is something like where, in which website or in which server the service is up. So this is the endpoint URL where the service is running, up and running. And then this is a response timeout. This is default one right now. So this is 1,20,000 milliseconds. That means 2 minutes. So if there is if response timeout is, so once I send a request, if the response is not coming, if the response is not coming in 2 minutes, then system will throw a response timeout exception. Response timeout exception. So in that case, I mean, this will be useful. I mean, there is a chance to modify this one. So if the response is coming every time within 1 minute, you can reduce the response timeout. If for every request response is taking 4 to 5 minutes, you can also increase the response timeout. It depends on the how much time the service is taking to give the response. But default is taking 1,20,000 milliseconds. This is nothing but 2 minutes. And then if any errors are coming, for this connection, for this service, so all the errors will be stored in this value, like what is the status, it's a good, fail, or what. So what is the status message? If it is a failure, what is the message that is giving? So generally the service itself is will give some messages. So in the service level, they also maintain some error messages, and they will be that message will be stored in this property. So connection problem. So this is a error flow. I mean, this is generally this will be useful to handle the exceptions. So this is one of the ways to handle exceptions. If the resource is not available, that means that if the service is not available, let's say for some reason service is down, and you are using this connector rule from the flow rule, and then what happens in that case is, when the service is not available, immediately this connection problem will be invoked. This connection problem is invoked. If you see this is a flow rule again. So what this flow rule will do is, when the service is not available for some reason, then it will try to reconnect it again 5 times within 30 minutes. So there will be a time gap of 30 minutes for all 5 attempts, and then within 30 minutes it will try to attempt all the try to connect to same web service. So here if you see, this is a flow rule again. This is generic flow rule to handle the exceptions or connection failures. So here what I am doing, the resource is not available. So they are checking some condition resource is not available. So by using some exception, if the resource is not available, so they are waiting for retry. So here if you see, they are using SLA rule. So retry connection, let's open this retry connection. So here what they are doing, for first time they're trying for 30 seconds. First time they're trying for 30 seconds. After 30, once they tried initially, if it is not connecting properly, the system will wait for 30 seconds. It will do the first attempt. This is the first attempt. So once it is first attempt, run the activity. So retry connection. So they are doing the retry connection when this is done. So this is means this is waiting 30 seconds after goal time. This will be executed. That means it is waiting for 30 seconds after it is trying for retrying connection. So let's say goal is not completed. Then after 2 minutes, like after 1.5 minutes of the goal time, again they are trying it. Again they are trying to reconnect. Then same thing, kind of run activity. So again they are doing for 3 times past deadline, and each time they are taking 10 minutes. That means that after deadline it will wait for 10 minutes, and then first attempt will be made. Again it will wait for 10 minutes. Again first attempt will be made. Again wait for 10 minutes. Again it will wait for that minute. Try to reconnect. So in total it is trying for 5 minutes in 32 seconds in a 32 minutes of time frame. So it's automatically retrying 5 times. If still in that case, I mean during retrying, by the time service is up, no issues. It will cancel the assignment, so it will go for normal execution. So if some issue is there, some issue is there still, it will go for a work basket. So this is a work basket, so it will go for, it will be in the incomplete connection work basket. It won't go anywhere. So if some issue is there on the service or our logic, then it will be in this website, in this incomplete connections will be there. So here you need to, so someone need to log in into the system, some system administrator log in into the system, and you need to manually verify that what is happening, why is still there is a problems in the connection. Okay, so once that is done, here there is one more option, like once you can restart the problem flow. So once that is, I mean if there is no issue, once the once the administrator logs in and he will verify the data, once he can do, it will go for this path. Okay, so this is system will automatically handle the connection problems. Like if any exception is there, it will do that one. So this is like exception, invocation exception. If an exception during calling, during invocation, during calling this connector, those values will be stored in this property. So all these properties will be handled. I mean by using these properties we can say what is the problem with this connector while calling it. And then request. So what is a request? So in this case, in this use case, we are sending the request in the XML format. That is why system is taking XML literal. So otherwise, if it is plain, if it's not XML, if it is a normal text, you can use normal data types. But this is XML. You need to check XML literal, and then you need to see XML stream rule. So as I said, we need to convert the club. We are setting the values to clipboard. So in Pega, we don't have to set values to XML. So we set the values to XML clipboard, but we need to convert that clipboard into XML. So we are using XML stream rule. So this is XML stream rule, and if you open this, you can see the rule name here. So this is a map from. So get countries by parameter. This is a map from. We are mapping from clipboard to these parameters. So you can see, so how the XML will be formed is, so the first value, I mean within the before dot or before brackets, you can see some value. That is a tag name. That is XML tag name. So if you open XML, so however you want to send the XML, you need to give that tag name. So you have some certain format for that, right? So here they are sending request in this format. Get cities by country. This is a first tag. This is a, for this ending tag will be there, and then they are setting the city name, or country name. Country. So ending tag will be there. So this is the XML they are expecting. The service is expecting this is the XML. So with the same property, you can see get cities by country. So that this is the tag name, and then this is mapped to this class. So this tag name is mapped to technically this object mechanism, not a class, this object, and then the country, the sub element, the sub element of the country name is mapped to country name of this object. That means that whatever the value is we set, whatever the value we set to this property of this object, then that value will be taken here automatically. That is what system will do when we run the stream XML. So we are setting the value using property set to this class, like get cities by get cities by country parameters dot country name. We'll set this way, right? And then equal to India, and then from India this stream rule will take the value from here and keep it here, like this. Will pivot the structure like this, and this XML will be sent to the service, and then service will give the response. Now let's go to response. So again, response is coming in the clipboard, right? Response is coming in the clipboard. Now we need to convert into, again, response is coming in the XML format. We need to convert into clipboard format. So if XML is coming, if you want to convert, you need to go for XML stream rule. Let me write it here. XML stream is to convert XML into, clipboard into XML format. Parse XML to convert XML into clipboard. These are the rules basically. System is creating again one more rule. Convert it. Let's open this. You can see here. So they are giving the response, and the response is coming, all the response again. So whatever the response is coming, they are mapping to only single property. But if you run here, if you run the same, you can see when you run it, if I send India from Pega application, they're giving the response in this format. So what they are doing is they are keeping this, they are taking all this from the country, from this metadata, from new data set from here. They are storing all this data. For them, this is a response. So they are storing all this data into this property, single property called get cities by country result. So that means this get cities by country result will have all this data, whatever the data is coming, this data will be there. But again, so this is XML again. This is not a direct clipboard structure. This is the XML again. After they are doing first level parsing, they are not doing all the levels. So we need to write extra logic to parse it actually, and then create a clipboard structure so that I can display the city names in the member dropdown. So my final aim is, if I give the country name in my address details, so if I give the country, I will add one more property, country name. If I give the country name, I want to display the city names here. That is my requirement. For that I am using web services to get the city names rather than hard coding the city names. So but here this is coming in XML, I cannot display them in the drop down or whatever it may be, autocomplete or whatever it may be. So for that reason again you need to write a logic to actually convert into, to do some more levels of parsing. That we will do anyway. So before that, this is the SOAP connection. So what we are doing here, and then you can see the WSDL file here, and then in the advanced tab, here we don't need to modify anything. System will automatically pre-populate the things. This is for backup, where it is running, what is the what we call, so our namespace, what is the namespace, everything which is advanced things. We don't need to modify this in any of these properties. We just need to modify service, request, response. If response is not coming properly or request is not forming correctly, you can modify this one. And this is the WSDL file which we actually getting from the other server. Okay, and then once this is here, we don't need to do anything what system doing. So we need to call this one. So now system by the tool, system created this integration, this SOAP integration. Now we need to call it. So to call it, I am using activities. So let's go to our work layer. That is the way we are doing the work processing. So from the climb, I want to write an activity again, technical activity. So I am naming it as get cities by country. Get cities by country. Create and open. Now, so the integration, I mean the rule is in the integration class, so I'm creating here global city. You can use any page name of type stm call int global is not showing. stm int So this is the way. This is where all the property, all the objects. I mean objects and connections tuples are available. So I am going to that level global city hyphen global weather. So I am creating the page, top level page first to store all this request and response. So page name of global city. You can give any name again here. It's not like mandatory. Spelling. Now we set the request. So for request in anything, just like a property set. Property set, and then you're setting to, let me go to global city level, and then you set the request property. So we have a request object. This is the request object dot country name. So for now I am hard coding. Later I will take the value from UI. So once I build the logic, I will modify this again, India, and then so once we set the request here, form the request, and then here call the SOAP service. This is the sequence, call SOAP service, SOAP integrate, SOAP connector, not service. So here you can use, so as I said, we can use connect methods, connect SOAP, and then concept is also there in this context. So expand it, and again service name is get cities by country. This is the connector rule name, and run it. And then, so that's it, you need to run it, the response will come automatically. System will give the response. Now let's try it, the response is coming or not. Do unit testing from here, run it. Run. Success, go to clipboard. If it is running properly, I am just sending the request, so I should get the response in the clipboard. So go to global city, here is there. Seems like response is also coming. So this is the request class, request parameters. I am setting India, request is coming. Response is also coming. You can see the response is coming. But as I said, response is coming only again in the XML format. You can see from the new data set is coming XML format. So we are getting the response, but in the format of XML again. After parsing, also they are doing first level parsing initially, so it's not going in details. In these scenarios, we cannot use it directly. This is XML format. I cannot use it again. So what I need to do, I need to convert this. If I want to display the city names in the drop down. If I want to display the city names in the drop down, I cannot directly use this XML. So I need to convert it again to a somewhere. I mean, do parsing of this XML. I need to prepare a clipboard structure. So for that purpose, we need to do some more level of debugging. So sorry, parsing. So let me take the structure. Because it's the same structure, we need to create it. So this is a simple thing. So if you see here, this is how it is coming. New data set. Some table tag is there. within the table tag within the new top level is new data set. Within the top level we have data. You can see table is repeating again. Table is a repeating element, and within the table you can see country name, city name. Country and city are the actual properties because that is the values we are storing. Country and city is the properties where we are actually storing the values, and remaining things are those are like embedding pages. I can see within new table we have table. Within table we have two properties. So we need to prepare the same structure. So if I want to prepare XML, I mean parse XML, so parse XML I need to follow the same structure. So I need to and then table and then country name and then city name. I need to go to I need to traverse here and I need to take the values from here. So we need to create a structure this and we need to store these values. We need to create the data model. So for that purpose I will get a data model. So what I will do is first I will get a table class. You can use any class name. So here I have taken the same class name just to be synced with this. So I am creating a table class with properties country and city. And then I will create a new class, new data set. And then within this class I will create a table page list property. Because here if you see table is repeating. So that is why I create a table page list property. And then in the parsing rule I will parse each table and in each record because this is a page list and in each record I will store this country name, city name. Table of 1 country and city, table of 2 country and city, table of 3 country and city, like that. Then when I prepare a page list, so it's easy for me to get to display the data on the UI. So for that purpose I'm creating go to Data Explorer. So any doubts so far, Venkat?
At this context, no doubts. I have one more query, that is a generic query.
Okay, go ahead.
With the help of activities, can we create the user interface screens as well?
Activities?
With the help of activities, is it possible to create the user interface screens?
No. We don't create user interface screens. We have sections for that, right?
No. So activity, can we mention anything, or can we generate the front end?
No, it's not like that. You can call the main, you can call other rules. I mean, the activity cannot itself design the UI. We have some other rules and you can call it from here.
Okay, that will form the something kind of front end page.
Yes, you can create a HTML rule, and you can call show HTML method to display the HTML content.
Okay.
The activity cannot itself can design the UI. If you design the UI somewhere else in some other rule, you can display it using the activities.
Okay.
And here I am taking table, and then I am cutting in the data layer, application data layer. This is fine. So I am taking the same name. Okay. This is country. This is city. So I am creating two properties in this country and city in the table, and then I need to create one more. This is done, and then I need to create one more class called new data set. This is also same. Done. Submit. And here in this case I will use some other property called table list, or we can make it a city list. Not table list. We can make city list. This is of type page list of table type, of type table. So this is how I did. Now I prepared a structure. Now to create the rule, parse XML rule to convert it, that we will see tomorrow. I prepared a structure. Now we will create a parse XML rule to parse this, and then we need to use the same rule in the activity. So once everything is working fine, we need to integrate with UI. That part we will see. It will take another 30 minutes. We'll see that tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. When could we meet again? Your Sunday morning?
So today is Friday, right? Okay. We'll see. Yeah, Sunday morning.
Okay.
Saturday you are saying you won't be available, right?
Yes.
Okay. Saturday morning this time you won't be available?
Yeah, I'm not available.
Okay, then that's fine.
Thanks, Subhash.
Yep.